Here's how Obama decided to describe our current state of the union.
Together, we have cleared away rubble of crisis. And we can say with renewed confidence that the state of our union is stronger.
Stronger. Our state of the union is stronger. Stronger than what? Venezuela? Really, it doesn't mean anything. What he was saying was blah, 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 blah. We are not stronger. We are not strong. We have had 4 straight annual deficits of over $1 trillion, a ballooning national debt that's over now 100% of our annual output. That means I could take everything that we make, sell it, and we still don't have enough money. America's credit rating will be downgraded again if our spending isn't reined in. Mark my words, they're going to downgrade us. That's why they're trashing the S&P now. They're going to downgrade us. What did you say? Fiscal cliff time? Now, the first time I said this was about 2007. I said it's on the horizon. They will downgrade the United States. I was called absolutely insane for saying it, but it only makes sense. All you need is common sense. Another one is coming. But that's not stopping the administration from going on a shopping spree. Who's got their credit cards? Obama has proposed a slew of new spending last night. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, not spending. Spending's bad. These are investments. He wants you to believe this isn't going to cost us anything. We're going to make money. Watch.
Let me repeat. Nothing I'm proposing tonight should increase our deficit by a single dime.
I love this one. Nothing, let me repeat so you listen to every word I'm saying. Nothing that I'm proposing tonight should increase our deficit instead of the definitive will. I got an out. I said, listen to it. I said it shouldn't, but boy, who would have seen that one coming? He wants to have it both ways. He wants to sound responsible, but he also wants to spend like a Marxist at a Mao sale. Here are the major investment opportunities that you need. What can I do to talk you into some of these investment opportunities tonight? We have $1 billion on, I love this one, the creation of 15 manufacturing innovation institutes. Wow. You know who should do this instead of us? Something that would be like an institute that would teach new industrial skills and turn whole areas into regions of global centers of high-tech jobs. Who should do that? Universities should do that. Hey, maybe we could make the universities tax-free if they would do something. Oh, no, we've already done that. That's the job of universities and schools. Private sector, not the government. How about a new investment opportunity here of $50 billion on fixing bridges? Yes, the Fix It First program will put people to work repairing America's ailing bridges, which apparently weren't fixed after the first $1 trillion we spent on fixing bridges. Whatever happened to that? An estimated $700 million on a nationwide contest to redesign America's high schools so they can be more like Germany's high schools. Okay, I'm sure Germany has some great high schools, but let me tell you something. I think with every day that goes by, we're becoming more and more like German schools. Anyway, this is an idea that we have to dump money into whichever schools they feel like. Also, another really super spectacular idea, raising the minimum wage. So it can finally become a living wage, something that you can live on. And so you can live on that money and spend that money and grow the economy. Now, who does this one hurt? Nobody. This helps the youth. It helps moms with little babies. Let me tell you, it hurts the youth. It hurts people who are struggling. It hurts the youth, and it hurts American businesses. We all lose in this one. We raised the minimum wage in 2009, and now the unemployment rate among the youth, those most likely to earn minimum wage, is 23%. Why? Because a company only has so much money. And if that's not a $9 an hour job, I'm most likely not going to pay somebody $9 to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know what? Bill, you're going to have to do that job because I can no longer afford it. I'm not going to hire somebody who has no skill. It hurts job opportunities for the youth and for the people who are most likely to be unemployed or underemployed. Businesses can't offer as many hours, we are strapped. Now, of course, the president's favorite investment, and he's good at this one, green energy. Let's all go to Vegas on green energy. Because why wouldn't we all want to go green? It's going to help the planet. And if you won't do it, well, he'll just do it through executive order. And boy, we should bet on him, because look how well it worked out last time we bet on green energy. Bing, bing, Solyndra, paging Solyndra. They never come when I page them anymore. Why? Because we gave them $535 million and it's all gone. Razor Technologies. Obama said, you know what? I'm sensing, let's bet on Razor Technologies. $33 million. They gave us less than 10 employees and then they went bankrupt. Ecotality. Obama gave them, invested $126.2 million and they lost $45 million and then, violated insider trading laws. So that's good. The Nevada geothermal power. We invested $98.5 million and they're on the verge of bankruptcy. That seemed to be going well in those investments. First Solar, Obama invested $3 billion of your hard-earned money and they fired 30% of their workforce. Abound Solar, we invested $400 million. They fired 180 employees and then halted production. Got an itch. I'm going to have to stop for a while. Beacon Power, Obama gave them $43 million and they filed for bankruptcy. Sun Power, Obama invested $1.2 billion of your money. They lost $177 million and they owe more now than they are worth. It doesn't seem to be working. But try again. He should have known this. He does know this. This model of using your money to stimulate the green economy, it doesn't work. And he should know it, because it doesn't ever work. It's been tried in a place called Spain. Obama was so impressed with what the green energy thing was happening in Spain, he wanted to copy it. Now, perhaps he just hasn't seen the results. Spain's unemployment is now at 26%. Put that into perspective. During the absolute worst of worst times, the Great Depression here in America, America's highest unemployment rate topped out at about 25%. So Spain is now worse off than our worst ever recorded unemployment rate. And it's worse with the youth. Why? I bet they have high hourly wages. Youth unemployment now is 55% in Spain. Boy, I think it smells like revolution. What reason is there to suggest that we would fare any better? Good heavens, America, if we were shareholders, which we are, we would demand the resignation of this guy. But none of it works. We don't say anything, and so he continues to jump off the green cliff with your money and your children.
This Congress to get together, pursue a bipartisan market-based solution to climate change, like the one John McCain and Joe Lieberman worked on together a few years ago. But if Congress won't act soon to protect future generations, I will.
Oh, good.
I will direct.
Good.
I will direct my cabinet to come up with executive actions we can take now and in the future to
that's
reduce
fantastic.
pollution, prepare our communities for the consequences of climate change.
Can I tell you something? We
need
need to prepare our communities for the havoc of climate change. We have to. Right now, it is so hot in Connecticut, they have 4 feet of sunshine right now that they have to shovel. They can't go anywhere. It's crazy how bad global warming is. He is not only reckless with the taxpayer money, he is reckless with the Constitution, he is reckless with your children's future. The press seems totally unalarmed by if Congress doesn't do it, I will. But then again, the New York Times and Time Magazine loved Mussolini. So what's not to love about this State of the Union address? When he says he's working on market-based solutions, he's talking about cap and trade, a massive government spread-the-wealth scheme that has nothing to do with the markets. In 2009, the Obama administration itself concluded that a cap and trade system would cost you $200 billion a year, or the equivalent of hiking personal income taxes by 15%. These are just some of the great investments that the president described last night as part of his new smarter government. That doesn't sound smart, but maybe the progressives have redefined the word smart. It sounds suicidal. What is smarter about taxing and spending more? What is smarter about adding tens of billions to our trillion-dollar deficit? What is smarter about asking Americans to fork over even more of their money? What is smarter about heaping even more burdens on America's struggling businesses? You cannot spend your way to prosperity, just like you cannot fornicate your way to virginity. It doesn't work that way. All that happens is that you kick the can down the road for the next guy. But we're running out of alley space. There is no more road to kick the can down on. This is it, gang. We are the generation that all the presidents that I was talking to when I was growing up, they all said, you know, it's gonna come a day when it's now, and we're the generation. The fiscal cliff, that whole debate was a big win for President Obama. And he assured the country that everything was going to be okay if he could just tax the rich just a little bit more. And so he got it because the GOP, little sheep that they are in the same little corral. So he got the rich to pay their fair share. Of course, that's not the message he gave last night, but pay their fair share. He then went out and spent all of it in one day. All of the stuff that he raised the taxes on, it's all gone. Plus, he spent an extra $10 billion, all in one program, in one day. Oh boy, now what are we supposed to do? I know, and you know the answer too. Get people to pay their fair share. Obama's smarter government will look for new ways to take more of your money and control your life even more. There is an alternative to this progressive nightmare. It's called freedom. And we'll get into that, and the guy who I think actually presented it last night. But first, the economic impact on you. Jim Rogers is the author. How are you, sir?
Good nice to see you again.
Jim Rogers is a guy who, if you're not in the economic world, you may not know who Jim is. But he is kind of like, I think he's kind of the Ray Kurzweil of the tech world. He's the Ray Kurzweil of the economic world. You have seen this nightmare coming for a long, long time. By the way, he's the author of a brand new book called Street Smarts that talks not only about the economic impact on things and where we're headed, but also the familial impact. Jim, is there anything that I'm missing here? Is there anything that you see in this and you're like, Glenn, you're obviously not an economist. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Glenn, I must say, I sat here and watched it. I was very impressed. You got it right. But you missed a few things. He's spending a lot more than you said he's spending.
Yeah.
You know, all these things.
Kind.
Why be kind? Come on. Nobody's being kind in America anymore. And it's time we did that. Somebody spoke up and said, guys, this is really going the wrong way. This is getting very serious.
So I see you, Jim, on CNBC, and I see you, and you live in Singapore now. You moved away from the United States in 2007 because you knew, right?
Partly, yes,
yeah.
yes.
What's the other part?
Well, I wanted my children to be educated in Asia because Asian education is much better. You saw what he said about education.
It's awful.
I mean, in Asia, my kid do more homework in the 3rd grade than I did in 12 years of school.
Can I tell you something? The problem with our education, let's not get off track, but the problem with our education is it's all programmed to the dumb. I mean, you have to go to the dumbest, slowest student, and so you hold everybody back. And then in the end, when they still don't get it, you still pass them, and you're like, oh, but you can do it. You're special.
I know. We teach self-esteem in American schools. In Asia, you have to earn self-esteem.
We used to.
If you don't earn it, you don't get it.
Okay, so you saw, you wanted your kids to not be dummies and see the world that was emerging.
Yes.
And you also saw the collapse coming before really anybody else did. I see you on TV, and it appears to me that the guys who are always sitting in all those little boxes, and you're the only one who's always like looking around like in the Brady Bunch, and you're like, what the hell's wrong with all these people? What is it that they're missing? Or do they know, these so-called experts?
I used to think they knew and were just, fluffing it over. But I don't think they knew. Most people have not read history. No, most people have not read economics. Now, there's nothing wrong with not reading economics, but at least see what happened in the past. In the past, when you spent money you didn't have, there were dire consequences eventually. In the past, if you built 6 houses when you didn't have any money, there were dire consequences. But people said it's going to be okay this time. Alan Greenspan, the head of the Federal Reserve, said, don't worry. All of this is going to be okay. Ben Bernanke, the head of the Federal Reserve, said, don't worry, all of this is going to be okay.
The head of the federal, the Fed here in Dallas, I heard an interview with him like last week. I love this guy. He's like, this is out of control. This is craziness. The Federal Reserve, with what they've done, their buying of our debt is up 237%, and they've bought more of the debt than we have even issued last year. What is it?
I know, Glenn, you should go on television and explain this. I'm telling you.
But what do they have? What is going on in their heads? What do they think they have that could back this all up?
They have printing presses. And if you listen to the head of the Federal Reserve, he will say to you, you've got to understand, Mr. Beck, that we have printing presses in the 21st century, and we will run them as fast as we have to. Now, this is a disaster. Don't get me wrong, but that's what he will say to you.
But he will actually say this, because I've had this debate with those people. They'll say, you're irresponsible for saying that we're printing money. We're not. We're digitizing money. Like, there's a difference. Like, okay, yes, I don't technically get I don't go to the library to check out my book anymore. I get it on Kindle, but it's still a book.
Okay. There is money coming from here into the bank account somehow,
yes.
And the federal government is spending that money, but the money is being created over here. Maybe it's the tooth fairy. It doesn't matter where the money's coming from. Maybe it's the Easter Bunny. But the money's coming from somewhere, and nobody's producing anything to produce that money.
These guys are, they keep, because I have a few friends that I've been friends with for a long time, and they're bankers, and they keep moving. They don't recognize, wait a minute. Remember you said that wasn't going to happen? Now it's happening, and now you're okay with it. But you said that would never happen because that was crazy when it happened. Now we're about 4 steps down, and now they're actually talking. There's serious conversation in Washington and in the banking world about, don't worry, it's not as bad as you think because we can still sell the national parks. I mean,
but the national parks can't bail us out. We're the largest debtor nation in the history of the world, Glenn. In the history of the world, we owe trillions of dollars.
So explain to the American people exactly what that means, because what they'll say is, well, bankruptcy. You know, back in World War II, Harry Truman, he went bankrupt right after World War I.
I know.
In the middle of World War II, he finally paid his last payment. You could have taken bankruptcy, but he thought it was wrong. So people will think, well, just go bankrupt. But what does that mean as a country? What happens to us when we're like, oh, we knew we couldn't pay the debt anyway? And how does this shape out? What does this look like?
May I suggest you go and visit Argentina a few times in your travels? There are many countries that have gone bankrupt. Look at what's happening in Greece now. I don't particularly think that the Greece model is a great model for America. Unfortunately, we're heading that way. That's the way we're going.
But do people come and take our stuff? Does the whole world reset? And we're just like, okay, we're all at zero again. What happens, Jim?
To the country?
Yeah.
The prices go through the roof. Interest rates go through the roof. You cannot get a mortgage. In Argentina, people cannot get mortgages. People haven't had mortgages for decades in Argentina. You want to buy a house, you've got to have the money in your hand to buy a house. You can't buy a car. You can't get credit for anything. It's a very hand-to-mouth kind of existence.
So people who say now that the banks are tight with the money, and they're complaining now, I mean, to get loans, even me, to get a loan for a house, not easy to do. I mean, it's getting easier now again, but there's no loans. There's no loaning of money for your business, no matter how great your idea, no matter how great your credit always was. It's just all wiped out.
Well, there's some, but yes, you're exactly right. It's certainly nothing like it was in the bubble. There's no question about that. But what happens when countries go bankrupt, or when the standard of living declines, is there's few jobs, prices go through the roof. You cannot get loans. I mean, many countries have gone. In 1918, the UK was the richest, most powerful country in the world. In one generation, there was economic chaos. You couldn't take money in and out of the UK. Within 3 generations, they were bankrupt. They were having, electricity only 3 or 4 days a week. This is in the UK, which was the richest country in the world, 3 generations before.
I've seen people, and we have to take a break, they're yelling at me. It's my network. I've seen China do this. I saw Russia just do this. They're buying all this gold. We're not buying anything. Buying all this gold. And they're taking pictures. Putin he was in wherever they keep their gold, the Russian Fort Knox. And they're taking pictures. And I've seen it with the Chinese. I've seen it with the stable kind of countries. And I think they're doing it to show we're going to last. We're good. They're sending a message. We're good. Haven't seen any of those pictures here.
Glenn, to my knowledge, there has never been an authentic, full audit of the gold in Fort Knox. I presume it's there. I presume there's some gold there. But we have never had an audit, a real audit.
Why did when the Germans asked for their gold back, it caused a little panic overnight, and then the Fed said, we're going to return that over a 7-year period. And that doesn't sound
First,
logical.
the Germans said, we want to come see the gold. And the Federal Reserve said, you cannot see your gold. He said, it's our gold. He said, you cannot see the gold. So then the Germans said, we want it. So then the Fed said, okay, we'll give it to you over 7 years. It doesn't take 7 years to move a few bars of gold from here to Europe. There's something wrong.
Okay, on that happy note, hey, we'll be back in just a second.
Countries, though.
We're just talking here with Jim Rogers about, if it breaks down and we were talking about you can't get the people. Once you're at a tipping point where people are hooked on the heroin of government money, you're not going to get them to vote these guys out because they want the stuff. And I just kind of find that hard to believe. I mean, I've worked for companies where I hate working for them because everybody does I could never be in a labor union because everybody does a lousy job. Don't you want to have some pride in your work? But apparently you don't think so.
And don't you want to show some initiative? Of course you do, because you're that kind of person. But a lot of people like a free lunch. I'm not a free lunch person. I couldn't bear it. I wouldn't like what they served, and you either. But many people in the world think, gosh, a free lunch is a free lunch.
So you were saying that the places that are talking about being more like America, the idea of America that we're free to create, they're all former Soviet Union countries.
Most of them are countries that were under really serious suppression, and there were no individual rights, and there was no individual initiative. Latvia, Bulgaria, Estonia, Myanmar was a country like that, an absurd socialist paradise. Colombia is changing a little bit for the better now, but there's not enough room for everybody in those countries, I'm afraid.
And how does a country like Russia allow that to happen right there?
Well, Estonia and Latvia and Bulgaria even are so small. I mean, 8 million people in Bulgaria.
I mean, but you saw what little, Mikhail Saakashvili was doing in Georgia. How Russia didn't like that. Russia didn't like that at all.
Well, yeah, and part of it was, though, that the American State Department went there and said to him, well, you can invade their territories, and he did, and then Russia said, we're not going to, American State Department hasn't done a very good job over the past few years, as you know.
So what do we do, Jim, if you're an average person? I mean, we talked today, send your kids to college, but for farming, right?
Well, I think the agriculture's got a fantastic future because we're running out of farmers and no students. There's no competition. I'm not a smart guy. I like to go where there's not much competition because then I don't have to worry about the smart guys. Let the smart guys all go on that side of the room. I want to go over here, and nobody's going to agriculture school. Nobody's become a miner. Nobody's becoming a farmer. People don't like it because it's hard work.
Have you looked much into technology on the things that are on the horizon, the 3D digital printing, and what that will do to patents and to labor forces not having to buy things from China anymore?
Well, I know enough about it to know that it's going to make great changes, but Glenn, I'm not afraid of change. We've had great changes since the beginning of time.
I was just wondering, I'm not either. I just think we're at the threshold of another great leap. And we'll either make that into a really dark age or a really great age. But there's another great technological leap that we're at the doorway of that will change everything.
When you say we, you mean mankind. Or you mean America?
Mankind.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I'm not sure America's going to benefit. So we'll benefit, but mankind will much more.
Okay, so, I think, any of the books that I've read of yours, you always talk about not just the situation, but you also talk about the quality of life and family. So what are the things that we should be doing, financially? We should be, going into the things that, give us individual power and sovereignty in our own life, so we don't have to be a slave to anybody else, right?
First thing you better do is not go deep into debt. And you should put your money only into things that you yourself know a lot about. Don't listen to me on TV.
Right.
Don't even listen to Glenn Beck on TV.
No, that's a bad idea.
Don't listen to your broker. Don't listen to your account. Listen to what you yourself know a lot about, and that's where you put your money. And you save it until you find something that you know is a good investment.
But if you're saving, you lose. Soon,
well, okay.
you're starting to lose?
Yeah, but it's better to earn 1% a year than to lose 2 or 3% a year, or 20 or 30% a year.
Right. But I'm saying about the devaluation of the dollar. Eventually, what you have in your 401k, that's not good.
Well, I own real assets. Throughout history, when people debase currencies, when they print money, the way to protect yourself and to make money is to own real assets. Now, you got to get the timing right, of course.
Yeah.
I own gold and silver right now. I wouldn't buy gold and silver right now, but I own them because I presume that's going to protect me and my children over the long term. By the way, one of the things you talked about family. I never wanted to have children. I thought children were a horrible waste of time, money. I felt sorry for guys like you with children. I want you to know I was totally 100% wrong. I had these little girls. Everybody watching this show should have children. You take the day off and go and have children. I'm telling you, it is so...
Or at least take the day off and try.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Don't take the day off these days. It's perilous time. Go home for lunch. Have a lunch hour.
I will tell you that I was the same way. And I got it about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. I was sitting with my younger kids and my older kids, and we were sitting around the table. And I was just listening to them talk, and I was watching them help with homework, and and I thought to myself, it is so true. There is nothing in my life that is more important than this. There's nothing that is meaningful. There's nothing that is lasting. It's the greatest thing ever.
People ask me what I do with my time, and I say I'm a father. I spend as much time as I can on my little girls. I mean, maybe it's nuts to some people, but to me, it's ecstasy.
That's great. Jim, thank you very much. God bless you.
My pleasure.
Back in just a second.